Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well this morning. So, I want to talk to you about something that is on my heart and on a lot of people's hearts and minds. And no, it's not the coronavirus, although that is definitely here, but that's not what I want to talk about this morning. I want to talk about the senseless killings of our fellow brothers and sisters, our fellow human beings. And yes, I do want to say their names: Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And there are countless other names, but these are the names that we're familiar with most recently. And of course, it's sparking outrage amongst black people because we're tired of seeing us being killed, uh, being oppressed, being hated. We're tired of feeling hated. And we can feel that, right? Just like a person can feel loved, person can also feel hated. And I just think that historically black people are hated in the nation, and what we see happening is a manifestation of that. And white people know it's true too. Some might try to deny it or argue that it doesn't exist, argue that racism is just a feeling, but it's not an actual institution. But white people know it's true too. And some of you may or may not know, but I'm a professor, and one of the things I talk about is diversity and oppression. I teach a course called Diversity and Oppression at Rutgers University. Shout out to my Rutgers students. And a lot of my students are white, and they know it. They talk about it in class. They do wonderful research papers on it. A lot of them even honestly admit that they discovered that their own parents were racist once they decided to date someone outside of their race. So it's very alive and real. And I thank God for my students and for them being so receptive. They're extremely receptive to me and the things that we discuss in class. And I challenge them to look at different groups and see how they were oppressed and talk about ways that we as social workers can step in and help. And that's wonderful. And I usually have these discussions in class. I usually don't have these types of discussions on social media because they're usually reserved for my classroom. But I really felt compelled to make a video to just say that this is not okay. And it's not only black people that's saying it's not okay. There are white people that's saying it's not okay. There are white people that definitely notice that there is something wrong. This is documentary I showed to my students by Chelsea Handler, and it's called Hey Privilege, It's Me, Chelsea. And Chelsea Handler takes white privilege on, head on. And the first place she goes is to a black college. And they say to her, thank you for being here, but you don't need to talk about this to us. We know what's happening. We're on the receiving end. You need to start talking to some of your white peers. And she took on the challenge and she did just that. It was a great documentary. And I think it's important for white people to talk about other white people about this, to talk to other white people about this issue, because everything that we see happening in our world is a manifestation of thought pattern. Wow, I know that sounds really hokey, spooky, mystical, but it is. It's a manifestation of thought. And that's why it continues to happen, because these type of thoughts pervade people's minds. So I would like for you to stay tuned tomorrow on Friday. For those of you who don't know, I have a podcast. It's called From No to Go Radio. And I usually have guests on there. We talk about many topics from wellness to business to entrepreneurship to creativity. Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about privilege in America. And the guest that I have is a white man, because it's high time that white people start talking about these things in different networks, because it's real, it's prevalent, it exists. And when these thoughts pervade the mind of a group of people, it really will be helpful if people within that group can counteract those types of thoughts, that type of rhetoric, those types of feelings. They need to counteract it, and they need to do it with their peers. So I want you to stay tuned to From No to Go Radio tomorrow, when I have my man Jacob Brumfield on, and we're talking about white privilege. And I'm looking forward to meeting you and seeing you there. And it won't be live, but I still am so happy when I see somebody look at the podcast and view it. And I really want to start a dialogue around this. So thank you so much, and take care of yourselves and be safe.